Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Learnatcloudanalytics. Today we are going to discuss about what is query folding in Power BI. So this is one of the advanced Power BI interview question which is most frequently being put across the candidates. So let's try to understand what is meant by query folding and why it is important. So, we are going to discuss this in two phases. So, today I'll be talking about what is meant by query folding and how is this happening in Power BI. And in the next video, I'll be giving out some real time scenarios where this is important and where this is not applicable. So, without any delay, let's get started. So query folding is nothing but for some particular databases, including both the relational and non-relational databases, when the mashup engine, that is, when the Power BI engine is able to convert the M language into a language that the data source can understand, then it is called as a query folding. So, when you're creating a Power BI report, we connect to a data source. So, let's say that we connect to a SQL Server or MySQL or an Oracle database. And when we connect to it, we try to go to the Power Query editor to perform the data transformations that is needed for our requirement. Now, in the data transformation stage, we might try to rename the columns or delete some of the unwanted data, or we try to filter the data, right? So, there are different transformations that we might apply in my corresponding table on using the Power Query editor. Now, in order to, so what does the mashup engine does here is, in order to improve the performance of our Power BI report, the mashup engine will translate this M language into the language that the data source can understand. So here in our case, since I'd be using MySQL database, this mashup language would transform or convert my M language into the MySQL language. And this is called as a query folding in Power BI. So let's try to understand this topic while we perform this together with my MySQL database. So for that, let me first connect to my database. So I'll go to my data and say MySQL. So here I would select my database and specify the name of my server. So since it is hosted on my machine, I give the server details as localhost, and the database that we are going to connect is world database, and hit on OK. And I would need to give a different credentials here. So I'll enter my credentials to the database and hit on connect. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Now, when I hit on connect, we'd be able to look at the tables. So within my database world, I have three different tables listed. So now I'd like to connect to my country table. So I'll just select this country table and go to the transform data so that we can directly go to our Power Query editor. Now in my Power Query editor, we can see that all the different columns that are existing in my table. Okay, so as you can see, this is all my data corresponding to my world country data. Now let's try to perform some transformations on this particular data. So I would like to give a name of this, rename this particular column to, I'll right click on this column and say that okay, this is my country name. Okay, and then maybe I'm not interested to have this particular column, which is my GNP old. So I'll just right click on that particular column and say remove, and that has removed that particular column. Now let's try to come back to this applied steps section, where we can see that whatever transformations that we did apply until now, all those transformations had been captured successfully within my applied steps. So we did try to rename one of the column, and we have removed one column. Now, mashup language has already query folded on my data source. So how do we know that? So we can just navigate to any of the applied steps step, and we can just right click on my corresponding step, and we can see that there is an option to see view native query. So let's try to verify this at my renamed column step. So I'll right click on that particular step and hit on this view native query. Now when I hit on view native query, we can see that here the country name, so we can see that from the table, from my original database, the column name was name, but then it has been renamed to country name, as you can see there. So which means that the M language has converted this to the corresponding data source language, which is my MySQL language. Okay, and let's try to see this on my other step as well. So I'll go to my removed columns step, and I'll right click and hit on view native query. So we can see that it has converted this into the M language has been converted into MySQL language after removing that particular column, which is my GNP old. So we do not see that particular column being listed here because this has been applied after removing that particular column. So in this way, we can understand that Power BI, like, we are not doing anything manually here. So Power BI itself, in the backend, it is trying to translate or convert the M language into the corresponding data source language to improvise the performance of a Power BI report. So this is all about the query folding in Power BI. So to give a quick recap on query folding, so query folding is nothing but in Power BI, the mashup language will convert the uh, the language into the sorry. So in Power BI, the mashup engine will convert the M language into the corresponding data source language, and which is called as a query folding. And this is helpful for improving the performance of the Power BI report. So this is all about the query folding in Power BI. So I hope this is clear to you to understand the concept of it. So like I said, the following video would cover the scenarios where this is really used and where this has not been applicable. So see you again in the next video. But for now, if you do like this concept and it is clear to you, please do not forget to give a thumbs up and leave a comment in the comment section. Thank you.